Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hello, welcome to Bold Book of the Day. My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson, and welcome to the Bold Book of the Day. This podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. I have a wonderful treat for you today. Today's guest is someone whose work is not only informative, it is transformational. Debra L. Morrison. She's a certified financial planner, and she's going to tell you about her years of experience and this beautiful book she's written about grief and how to manage it when you have a sudden loss. As a matter of fact, it's called My Husband Died. Now What? Now, please welcome Debra to the stage. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Denise. Pleased to be with you.
Thank you so much. Please tell us a little bit about your story and why this book was so important for you to write.
Well, thank you. I had served clients as a certified financial planner and asset manager for 42 years. And in that process, I encountered a number of women who later were widowed or I inherited widowed people. And the gulf into which they were thrust, it was very unknown, very frightening, very overwhelming, and it was quite frankly paralyzing to many of them for a very long period of time. And I found the need, and it was a real from inside need to become more educated. I'm pretty empathic. I've come from a very large family and unfortunately a lot of deaths. And so I'm not uncomfortable with death. And yet I knew that there was a lot more I wanted to know. And so I became grief coach certified. It's a 2-year process. And what I found, Dr. Denise, was that I was in practice actually right across the river in New Jersey from the World Trade Center on 9/11. And we were a very large financial planning firm and went and gave blood at the hospital, but everyone was dead. And we came back and we looked at each other and said, what will we do? And the 4 white men in unison turned to me, the newest partner, and said, we're going to give pro bono service for 1 year to a certain number of survivors. And Debra, you're the partner that's going to do it. And I felt this huge weight on my shoulders. And yet instantaneously, Dr. Denise, I knew I was the one. Of all of that practice partners, I was the one. And so I went into it like everyone, in facing a huge sea of unknown and horror. And I gave pro bono service, financial planning and asset management, and a whole lot of coaching and so forth from a grief recovery standpoint to 7 widows, 1 widower, and a 12-year-old orphan. And it taught me a world about dealing with grief, because this was cataclysmic in so much it was so internationally publicized, and all of the survivors were in fishbowls and being really judged quite harshly, I have to say. When they were in church, they should be home on their couch crying. When they're home on their couch crying, they should be in synagogue. I mean, it was really, no one really knew how to get our arms around it. And so there was this extra ambiguity that on the top of this kind of profound grief really called everything out of me in service to these people. And it changed my life. And so even up until then, people were asking me the same kinds of questions. What do I do? Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. I never even knew about money before. And I always subjugated or delegated, that to my partner, my husband in most cases. And so this was suddenly single and needing to understand and learn about finances. And I'll tell you what, widows are a very huge target group for commission salespeople. And so there's this huge need for women to not fall prey to being taken advantage of financially, because that can set them back even further. So yeah, it was screaming at me to write the book. And so I wrote the book, and it's called My Husband Died, Now What? A Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions, because they really are interwoven in so much as the uncertainty around money, which typically is a loaded topic anyway, particularly for women, and then being thrust into what now. So this was completely resonant with me. And I shared both humor and seriousness in this book. And people have written me and said, oh, on page 83, you got it. Oh my gosh, on page 14, it was exactly where I was. And that's the kind of feedback that every author really is looking for. And so I believe that it struck a nerve to give people this interweaving of empathic comfort. And then after our story has been heard, someone has listened us into speech, we can progress to stages of grief. And they are not linear. No, they're not. As much as Dr. Elizabeth,
I know. Yeah.
landmark research. And yet it's a matter where I am always an advocate for no judgment. Every situation is unique. So I address grieving people with a complete curiosity, with a heart of empathy, and with knowing that this is not the end for you. I don't know what is your next step, but this is not your ending, else you would be gone too. That's what I firmly believe. So this is a matter of issuing and inviting people to embrace hope.
So that is where I see the rare blend of emotional support and financial strategy come intertwined because of your experience, your financial experience, and then your experience helping widows in that serious September or 9/11 time.
And it's not just sudden death. You mentioned sudden death. That's
Sudden
obviously always shocking. Yet, prolonged caregiving, it's exhausting. And so any death is to be dealt with. And so I think, Dr. Denise, sometimes the people think that, oh, well, so the people whose partner died of cancer, all right, that's one group and they can all talk with each other and it's all good. Well, not so much. If a person died of lung cancer and they smoked 2 packs a day, sitting aside a person whose husband, in this case, never smoked a nickel and died of lung cancer. So we really want
conversation.
to be conscious of the fact that everyone deserves their space and their story to be heard.
You talked about safe spaces for expressing grief, and you just mentioned that grieving is not linear. What are some ways widows can create or find safe spaces?
It's so important because instantly, you lose the MRS, right? Like the whole moniker widow comes right on your head. And you never wanted to be an MRS any more than you were the first day you're a widow because of the severity of the difference. And so the ostracization is significant. Like sometimes your circle of friends, people that you're associated with the community, they'll invite you to dinner once, to Dr. Denise. Once is the statistic and not again. Because it's uncomfortable, right? Maybe the husband is looking at the widow and the wife is jealous, or nobody even knows how to start a sentence. They act like they are completely, bereft of anything logical to say, when sometimes being present and not saying much at all, like maybe saying, or hopefully saying, I can't imagine what you're going through.
And leave it there.
And leave it there.
Wow, I didn't even know about that statistic, but I guess you don't know until you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
How does grief affect a person's ability to make decisions?
Well, this is a very key point. And I study and actually a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. And we are taught that when intellect is high, emotions are low, and vice versa. When emotions are high, intellect is low. And so what is often the case with a widow is, bam, that even an elongated illness, the moment of death, it just changes. It's different. And there's this overwhelm of, I got to make all these decisions. I don't know what I'm crying all the time. I can't stop crying. And so the aspect of teasing them apart in order to give each of them space is valuable. And so I always, when I used to coach people one-on-one, I would say, all right, so we're going to grieve. And if I'm not here and you want to set a timer, you just set a timer, half hour, 45 minutes. If you're not done, hit snooze and just get it out, because we got to feel to heal. And when you feel like there's that season, that chapter is gone and it's out of us, right? It's often very exhausting, clearly. And then I invite my clients to actually even change a chair, or in the same chair, turn to a different vantage point. And now you're going to say, now I have some decisions to make. What are needed decisions, necessary decisions in the near term? What decisions can I postpone? And so I have a whole chapter in my book, the no decision zone, 6 months, no decision, because people tend to make very precipitous decisions that don't work.
Yeah. They want to start, trimming down and selling the house and just, divvying up things that they shouldn't even be looking at.
Yeah. So there's stages of acceptance, right? On the one hand, there were widows at 9/11. They didn't want any part of the fund money. It's like blood money. No, I don't want it. And I'm like, oh, no, we're taking that and we're putting it away, and you're going to have a lifetime income out of that, right?
Yeah.
So we all need, in times of duress, we need somebody beside us, or that's been the walk and been the educator and been the professional to say, and the expert to say, this is important now. And I have a whole chapter several chapters in my book about prioritization of financial decisions and notifications to make and so forth and so on. This is very comforting to widows because they really don't know, when should I know I have to go to the employer. I don't really want to because I'm going to run into all his friends and so forth. And so I talk about how you make an arrangement to go to his office and clean out his desk after hours so you don't bump into every single John, Joe. So that's valuable. And there will be people that from his work environment that you'll want to set up a lunch date with, or they'll contact you. That's different than trying to take your hand truck through the hall and have 63 people that you don't even know, saying maybe kind of stupid things to you, because I have a whole chapter in my book, stupid ass things people say, and they say stupid ass things.
Can you explain some of the things, or what is the unwinding emotions that women have around money and around the grieving process, where they're constantly dumbfounded by what to say to people when they are speaking to them about money, when it comes to money, about things that they used to do together as a couple.
And you're speaking particularly about the widow herself, or the people around the widow?
I'm talking about for the widow herself.
Yeah. Well, first of all, money is a really loaded topic, no matter death or not death. It's a loaded topic, and people, I hold up money.
I love the visual. You guys can't see, but she got a wad of money up in here.
100s, and they're all real, right? And so you don't see me worshiping it. No, it's a tool that will be used, and sometimes different circumstances, unforeseen circumstances, this type of thing, death, can cause us to have to make different choices with their money. And so we want to be judicious about what money is going to be utilized in the near term. And then we want to parse it out and put some money in the middle term. And we really chunk down periods of your life, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, 7+ years. And there are different investment vehicles that suit to those time durations best. So it's not good to select a stock mutual fund or a piece of real estate for a need in 1 to 2 or 3 or 5 years. It's just not. That gets pushed out. And so we need to think about this logically. This is not something that the average widow is going to be able to put into place, because her mind is completely turned into this moil, because the emotions also take effect. And so I had one widow say, I can cry and ask you a question about my IRA in the same breath, and you'll be there for me. And I said, yes, I will.
Wow. I know. It sounds like you have the authority to write this book. So I'm so grateful that you saw the need.
Yes.
Not just the authority, you have all these experiences that gave you the authority to write this book. In the book, you talk about helping widows rediscover their strength. So it's their strength for creating a new vision and creating more money and creating enough money to take care of them throughout this, absence. And can you share a story where you witnessed this transformation in one of your clients?
Oh, there's so many. I think a vivid one pops into my mind. A widow was just wringing her hands, her hands were beet red, almost bleeding. She was wringing her hands. What to do? What to do? What to do? My whole life is gone. And of course, her husband was dead, and he wasn't a minute ago. And so, because I'm sometimes there, and so the aspect is, I mean, I certainly am a presence that is calming. I mean, I'll maybe touch the widow on her forearm. And definitely, if we have any male listeners here, it is not prudent for a man to touch a woman above the elbow. That's going to be seen as something else. And this is elbow below is the only quote unquote safe space if my research is right, and I believe it is. So I will be present with the widow. I was present with this woman, and we were in the waiting room from the ICU. And my life is over. And I get that. I know people want to die right then because he was everything and they were everything and they chose each other and it was beautiful. Now, in some cases it's not, but in the cases where it's a great relationship and obviously they are feeling this complete, like, oh my gosh, it's not just today and it's our future. And if they have kids and no, he's not going to walk her down the aisle, and their mind just goes every place in terms of the cataclysmic loss and the compounding of that. And they're like, I can't handle this. I can't do this. And so I come back to those bracelets several a decade ago or so. Like, what would Jesus do? Right? People were wearing them a lot, right? And I think, let's just imagine. I don't say this right away, but this woman I dealt with obviously over time. I say, let's imagine, what would Bob have you do? Now, would Bob have you absolutely confined to your bed or couch or, recliner chair, weeping for months on end and not moving forward in some regard with your life? No, he wouldn't. I said, I think the veil between here and there is gossamer thin. I have had so many experiences of signs and so forth of people that have passed that I don't know if you'll have that experience or not. But I talk to people that I have loved and lost all the time. I wonder if you would be comfortable asking Bob right now, Bob, I want your guidance. I want to feel your presence guiding me. On one hand, I say I'm a Christian. I believe that your partner is like sitting at the right hand of God. Now you have people watching over you. You have spirits, entity, angels, whatever. Now that's my faith. And that's often very comforting because she thinks she lost everything forever. Well, maybe she gained some kind of higher oversight. And now she opens her mind to the possibility of receiving guidance. And I'll tell you what, Dr. Denise, the first couple times it happens, I went in and I saw his initials, in the bookstore, they just jumped out at me. Yeah. And these are signs, and I want you to take them as comforting signs because he is not that far away from you soul-wise. And so whatever your next chapter is to be, I have no idea. I will attempt to guide you along discovering that. And it may or may not be evident to you now. What we're going to do is put one foot in front of the other. We're going to feel until we heal. And we are going to move from the story of complete loss to now remembering, oh my gosh, we had that birthday party and it was a surprise. And he came in dressed like a cowboy and everybody laughed their heads off. And now we're into contextualizing things and framing things. We have now good memories. The family can join in. And what you can do for a widow is when you see the widow and chat with her, tell her a wonderful story about her husband. Because when people refuse to say that man's name or that partner's name, it is hurtful to the widow in a way that is unspeakable. People think, oh, if I say Bill's name, she's going to remember again. She never forgot. So say Bill's name. She'll say Bill's name. And everyone will be in an adult environment in which you understand Bill was wonderful or he had his quirks. and Bill isn't with us now, and yet we have rich memories on which to draw. This gives us foundation, Dr. Denise, on which we can put our next tentative step. And this is very valuable for us, because when you think of grief as, like people say, I think that the whole earth is flat now. I'm never going to judge somebody's impression. Absolutely not. Why? That is so silly. So if a person feels completely bereft, maybe they need professional help. I'm not a psychiatrist, so they may need, and I would be in a position to say, I'm going to suggest that you consider this. And yet, ultimately, when a person is able to move from the what's next to finding little niches into which they can find forward progress, then I said to the woman, I'll close the circle, wringing her hands, what will I do? I said, now, Marilyn, before you met Bob, you're a nurse, you're a registered nurse. You worked at that hospital and you earned good money and you were in management and you still are a registered nurse. And so while you didn't work in nursing for the last several years, it's possible you could go back there. You see, you didn't lose those skills and abilities when Bob died. They became overshadowed. And yet I want us to be as emergent with digging up those things which were ours before we met our partner. And maybe they've gotten put on ice because of child rearing or something else. And now I want us to brush all that off and say, I have answers within. I'm going to draw on my past resume and then call a friend and ask, generally her, to describe me. I'd say, Dr. Denise, I'm really having a tough time. I know you know me from before Bob. Remind me who I was then. And you will start to regale things. And I'll say, yeah, I was. And you'll say, and yes, and you were. And you remember when we did that and we were lost and it was pitch dark and nobody had a flashlight and you bore ahead and you got us out of there. Now, I'm telling you what, that's support right there. And when a person's confidence, say with confidence, we can do almost anything as human beings. Absent confidence, not so much. So if you're surrounding a widow, whatever you can do to build up her confidence that she can do this is going to be valuable.
So I had a friend when I just got married, and she was an elderly. She was really my friend's mother. And I call her Mama because, that's my friend's mom, and I called her Mama, but she became my friend. And she gave some really great advice about shoring up yourself before the loss of or divorce of, because for some women, they're grieving a divorce and not just a death. They're grieving not having this partner anymore. So I was a hairstylist at the time, and she came into the salon and she was, preaching to us what can we do to prepare ourselves financially for not having a husband again. And one of the things was to get involved in the everyday process of how the house is run.
Yes.
So that even if your husband is not there anymore, you're not discombobulated. You're not just all of a sudden blindsided by the responsibilities or how things are done. So review statements, get some financial advice, and understand where money is going every month. You don't need to overnight learn these things, but it should be something that you're doing throughout the relationship so that you're not blindsided when you don't have a partner or when this is all your responsibility. Another thing was to organize important documents, because she was saying, if you know where the will is, or where certain insurance payments are going and policies are where they are where they are in the home, then it's easy for you to move forward with making certain payments if you have to, you know.
Absolutely.
So that I remember her saying that. And then one of the things she always said, have some savings of your own, not just jointly, because sometimes your partner's dead and you don't even know how to get into that account.
Right. Yeah. Great advice from her. I'm grateful that she shared that with you. And
Mm-hmm.
I go through, I have very short little chapters. I understand the widow's brain. It's not
Mm-hmm.
able to focus long time. So 39 chapters, but they're very like, well, some of them are a page long. And we go through grief is sad and normal. There's a 6-month no decision zone. Emoting fully in safe spaces. I need a good listening to anniversaries, holidays, and sex. Interesting combination, but I love that. What to do with his stuff. People make beautiful quilts and bow tie,
Mm-hmm.
not bow tie, necktie. They sew
Mm-hmm.
them together and it's a table. It's amazing. I've seen amazing things. And then important notifications to make unwinding emotions and money. There's the parsing out. Deal with both of them, just not at the same time. Surprises. There may be surprises. And so how will you deal with these surprises? And then potential income sources. People think, oh, there's not enough money. Well, I'm giving you ideas to where to look because you may uncover. And people have come back to me and said, I would have never done that without knowing about it from your broker. Missing or inadequate assets. You're like, I'm sure he had more money. And maybe he did. Maybe you got a forensic accountant. All of these ideas that I'm tossing into the ring, pull out what is applicable, leave what's not applicable, and move on. Navigating the decision zone then. After the financial disasters to avoid. Real stories, Dr. Denise.
Yeah.
Who have been absolutely abused.
And it's all in that book. What about explain to us what role a fiduciary advisor plays?
Well, there are 3 types of financial advisors, and they really are distinguished by how they are paid. It seems a little silly, but it's true. So you have commission people, which are insurance agents, and they'll sell big fat life insurance policies because there's big fat commissions, and they'll sell big fat annuities because there's big fat annuity commission. And so those people get a commission every sale they make. And then there's fee-based, which charge you a fee for a basic financial plan. That's hopefully going to give you an idea. I'm good to age 85, or I'm not so good and I need to make some changes. But then in the plan on pages 3, 5, 8, 19, 27, 33, there are suggestions to buy a big fat commissionable product on which they'll earn the big commission, hence fee-based, but commission on top of it. And then the third type, which I was practicing as 22 years, and it didn't become available until 1999. And that's when I switched. And in the last 22 years, I practiced as a fiduciary planner. And they are fee only, what's between their ears. It's completely objective. Your goal is their goal. I had 34 clients. I had 34 agendas, and none of them were mine. And here's the question our people have to ask. Because people in that middle ground got a little FOMO because the fiduciary people sounded so objective and so rational, that how were they going to still make a living when everybody knew they were going to earn those big fat commissions? And so they formed another company that was a fiduciary company for the planning. But then you read those fine print, like on a 4 font, securities offered through, which means they're getting commissions on top of it. So you must ask, if I do business with you, Mr. Advisor, and I buy a financial product, will you earn a commission, a fee, a kickback, a referral fee, or any type of remuneration? And if the person doesn't say absolutely not, shake the dust from your sandals and move on until you get a person that answers that in the affirmative. And I give websites in here to steer people to that type of planner. There's a couple of wonderful websites, and you can look in it and interview people that have your idea in mind. Because I talk about financial abuse, I have another 4-letter word for it, of widows by commission hungry people. And I unwound, Dr. Denise, 3 unsuitable investments. That took me over a year in each case. I had to go to the insurance department, the insurance commissioner of each state, appeal to them, unwind it, and get the widow back her money. In one case, $438,000 of cash, and the agent got charged back $68,000 of commission.
Oh, wow.
So we're not talking chump change here. We're talking huge. And of course, he wanted all expenses trip for two and so forth. Now, I will say to you, already I was a fiduciary for probably 10 years. And I didn't open the door of my front door for probably 5-6 years without expecting a double barreled shotgun. Because you knew exactly
You
who
were
I
the
was.
enemy. You became the enemy.
In favor of the woman receiving rightful advice.
What's hers too? Yeah.
Hers. So I did that pro bono. I never took a nickel for unwinding any of those three. And I literally, in my humble, gave back a portion of their life to them because they didn't have to scurry anymore with handcuffs on their own wrists to get at their money without a fee.
What's the most important chapter or message that you want the reader to get from your book?
There's always hope. There's always hope. And
so no matter what steps you've taken and how desperate you may be feeling, or maybe how hopeless you may be feeling, there is hope in your situation.
Yeah. I have never, big word, found a situation, financial situation, and often, interlaced with grief in this case, never found a situation that was hopeless. Always, I'm a big thinker. I think outside the box a lot. I have great ideas and I bring them to the table, and I always did 3-4 times the amount of annual continuing education credit. I was out there. I was a scout for any type of good information, and I brought it to the table of each person, and inevitably the overwhelm starts to fade, Dr. Denise, when women understand that even something like budgeting, which maybe they have eschewed up until now, like, oh, that feels like, some Catholic nun's going to come along with their big ruler and slap me on the neck. No. This puts us in the driver's seat. And I applaud your notion of doing so while you're coupled, right?
Yes.
Let's figure out where your money's going. It has nothing to do with anyone else but you. And when people realized how much money was going towards cigarettes, I had a guy come in, he threw a box of half open cigarettes across my conference room table, and he goes, I quit smoking. I saw how much money I was spending. See, it was never what I said. After 30 days, they saw what money was going where, and it didn't align with their values. So enter the widow in a perfect position to say, okay, in time, start to write down things. And I give very explicit worksheets in here, take people step by step. I also wrote a reflections journal, Dr. Denise, that has very specific pivotal kinds of probes and so forth for the widow to consider. And it's after each chapter. I have a summary chapter. Yes, I do. And then I have the reflections journal, which I invite people to work with together, because there's a very, very wonderful statistic about cursive writing. See, I like to type. I type really fast. I dictate a lot. But there's a sense by which when we journal, and it's statistically proven scientifically, that it unlocks a portion of the brain that helps with trauma relief. And cursive writing it sounds like it's just penmanship, but it's writing without bringing your pen off the pad. So you just keep going, yes, and into the U, and then the N, and the end of the letter, end of the word, and you stop. But this cursive writing, it's that communication, that feeling, that tactile with the pad and the pen that absolutely comes into a core level of understanding and psychological healing that is very, very interesting to me. And so when I read that a couple of years ago, I said, all right, bringing out the book again, updated, and new links. There's links in the back, how to find every single person you're looking for, how to look up your credit score. There's a little dictionary of useful financial terms at the back. So if you don't know some of the vernacular, you at least now know it. And it's really chunked down in a way that I think is digestible and empowering. And the journal then, as a sidebar, allows you to write. And when women journal and then look back, it's something they wrote depending on the rapidity of the recovery. And sometimes you go over a hurdle quickly, and then something else takes a little longer. They'll look back and they say, oh, I remember that. I didn't think there was going to be a tomorrow. Oh, I didn't know how I was going to get through the next hour. Right. And then they see the progress. There's hope. And the hope is seeded in their very words, in their own handwriting. To me, the Reflection Journal, I am so proud of. I mean, I'm pretty proud of the book because I think it really nails it. And yet the Reflections Journal is so rich. I invite everybody to dovetail them. And it's a rich combination. I know that when people have strategy and tips and tools to move them from chaos and overwhelm into some semblances of order, some semblances of redefining meaning, then we can shorten the grief recovery period significantly. And who wouldn't want that? You're never going to be forgetting that you had a partner and they're no longer here in this earth space. And yet you'll be able to frame it in a way that they are beside you now and you are moving into your second chapter. And there are many, many stories of widowed people finding love again and thanking God and thanking their former partner maybe for setting them up. I mean, there is joy. There's a lot of joy in people's lives if we stay open to it. And if we have the good luck, if you will, good research to have a guide and a coach beside us so that we don't take and go on an errant route, which is expensive time, energy, and everything, every other facet. Spiritually, it exhausts you, right? So I want to keep us as much on our path, and it may change, it may zigzag. It's okay. And I think when people get overwhelmed, I think they sit back, they do breathing exercises, they come back into themselves and they say, all the answers are in here. All the answers are inside.
Yes. If you give yourself time to just grieve, to get over that initial shock, and then just give yourself time to find the answers, because you don't need to find the answers right away. There are some decisions that you have to take care of immediately, but you still don't have to do those by yourself. And if you don't have anyone, then you can reach out and get the support that you need. Get, loved ones or friends or family members that can help you through this time to make the right decisions. One of the things I do, I am a nurse practitioner also. And so I help, I am, a lot of times I have to announce or to call a family member and inform them that they have just lost a loved one or their partner. And I realize that when you tell someone that's been married for a long time that they just lost their partner, no matter how ill they were and how dire the situation looked, they are always shocked. And they are always, that what do I do now? And so one of the things I've started to say is call someone that you feel safe speaking with. Maybe it's clergy, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your sister, but call someone that you feel safe speaking to help you through this time. So thank you so much. Where can our audience get your book?
Well, it's on Amazon, and both versions, the Kindle and the paperback of the book and the paperback of the journal. And we invite you to pop over there, read it, get it, read it, and leave a review if you're so moved. It will help other people that are thinking, oh, is this the book for me? And this will give you a little sidecar, if you will, a little comfort. I've made it small so that it can fit in purses easily, maybe even in a pocket. So that, and I made the chapter short so that you can digest things, and the links and so forth in the back are really valuable because people can click on it and find a financial answer real quick, bam. And that's really helpful. You don't have to go scurrying around, even opening up your computer. So I love the size of it. I love the salient advice, and much of it I've been tipped off to. I mean, I've spoken to widowed groups for 20 years on coast to coast. There's an amazing group, which I talk about in the book, called Soaring Spirits International. They just released a PBS film literally, I think yesterday, International Widows Day was yesterday. And this is an amazing group founded by my dear friend, Michelle Neff Hernandez. And she lost her husband and she formed this group, and it is worldwide. And they have support groups and so forth in cities, and they eat dinner together and so forth. So you want to find a safe space. Now, here's the other thing, Dr. Denise. Sometimes it's unnerving to people that some of their old friends or existing friends peel away and they're not quite as friendly. They might be nervous themselves. They think it's, if they get near you, that could be an allergy, and they could be a widow. It's stupid. I mean, it's not logical at all, but sometimes our old core of friends fall away and very interesting new people emerge that we cotton with. And maybe they're widows and maybe they're not. It's just that I want to give us the opportunity to imagine that this new chapter may bring new people into our sphere. And if they are hearing you and resonating with you, then that's a person that you're going to want to maintain and deepen a connection with. And so these widowed communities, obviously, when they gather, they're in the majority. And trust me, that's maybe the first time that widowed people have been in the majority, because they go into church or the synagogue and they're the newest widow, and there's a paucity of them, and they're one of them now, right? And it's just like there's no category for them. United States of America, we are very ill prepared for people to be, 1, sick, and 2, to be dying, and 3, to be recovering from and moving through grief. I don't think we ever get over it. I think we get through it.
Yes. Wow. I am sure there's someone listening that would like to know how to be a part of your tribe. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, I do have a Facebook group. We Can Do It Women 60 plus, it's called, community. And then wecandoitwomen.com is my website. And there's a checklist there of financial planning kinds of considerations that you may want to tap into. Definitely the book, obviously. And yet I'm happy to entertain any questions from the website. You can contact us. team@wecandoitwomen.com is a very good email to use. So I say, don't be a stranger. Be present to yourself and your feelings. Write them down. Call us, email us. I want to be a resource in addition to that which I've written in the books. And yet I think that this is a very good place to start. And I had therapists have like 5 copies of the book. They'd order them in packs of 5, and they would have them on their shelf. So the patients would be there, and when they, like to your point earlier, they'd see the book and they'd say, oh, that's an interesting book. And she says, yes, it is. My friend wrote it. And they sometimes would buy it from her because they wanted to be prepared. But the fact is, I had these psychologist friends, and they said, we send your book, whether if we're a patient, we hand it to them, or we Amazon it to them instead of flowers, because it's so timely. Now, I graduated high school with a gal. She lost her 3rd husband.
Oh, wow.
3rd husband to death. And she called me and she said, Debra, I know you're in the middle of writing, finishing your book. This is the first time. And I said, yeah, it's still in galleys. She goes, send it to me. I said, it's in galleys. She said, send it to me. I've cleaned the house 4 times. I need to do something. And she stayed up all night and she read it. Yes. And by the next morning, she sent me an email on page 18. Absolutely. On page 21, didn't happen the last 2 times, but it happened this time. On page 87. Oh my God. And that was a lifeline for her, hence the life preserver, in so much as when she needed it. So people say, when should I give your book? Right away. Because you don't know if that widow is sleeping when you're sleeping or not. And I can pretty much guarantee she's not. So absolutely give it to her right away. She can choose to pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down at her leisure when she is able and eager to know something else.
Thank you so much. I would really appreciate if you guys were taking notes and thinking about how you can prepare for this loss before. I'd really appreciate that, because I know, I've seen, I've heard, I've spoken to women who were devastated by the loss of a loved one. So I'd really appreciate if you guys were just taking notes and seeing how you can be a part of Debra's tribe and how to get this book. I want y'all to go out and get this book and gift it, just like she said, gift it to someone who, instead of sending flowers, send something that can be useful, something that they can use to help them through the rest of their time. Before you go, I would love to ask you some questions that I usually ask my guests. Debra, thank you again for giving us such great information, just dropping gems throughout this her conversation. What's one bold promise that you can share with the audience?
Well, that the pain is eventually going to change and morph into opportunities.
Oh, I like that. What's a bold statement that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, that folks become smarter and more empathic once they've been through it. And so maybe as you heal and move through your grief, you can embody that kind of learning and share it with one or two people, not like the masses. But these are tips and tools that are important to be shared, because if more people don't understand how to be courteous and respectful of widowed people, then more and more people will say something completely asinine to the chief griever, and then the chief griever has to try to figure out how not to maybe like slap them or be like completely ridiculously upset, or the chief griever has to move out of her own space and into almost comforting that person who's completely clueless. Now, don't put anything more on the chief griever than what she has on her shoulders, because it's a lot.
Yes, it's heavy.
I don't know what to say. Say, I have no idea what to say.
Yes. Third question, what's a bold move that you'd like to make in the future?
I would love to have my book be present and empower, a source of empowerment for every single widowed person to shorten their grief recovery process, because I have seen probably at this point, certainly thousands of widows move through and reinvent themselves. Like many people have kids they're still raising. And so there's that responsibility, and I say to them, your husband died, you're still here. I don't know why. I'm going to work with you, not help. I'm going to work with you and send my prayers and good vibes that you're going to move into a discovery of what your next chapter is, because it is meaningful and you can make a huge impact on this society, your friends, family, and mostly yourself. And many of them have found new relationships, certainly new friendships, and new cores of support and camaraderie, because we do not want a widowed person to feel alone. That is really dark.
Thank you. And to our beautiful listeners, if you or someone you love is walking through grief, please don't do it alone. There is strength in support, and there is healing in honesty. And Debra, your book is a powerful guide. And I hope that you'll not only read it, guys, but you will share it. Because once you learn something, it changes you. And so I also think that you have a responsibility. Once you learn something, you should be sharing it. And sharing it will help us heal and help our widows heal. Thank you so much. If there's anyone out there that is interested in writing their book, please send me an email to authordnicholson@gmail.com or go to boldpublishings.com. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much, Debra, for being with us today. You are just wonderful, and I appreciate you. I believe that this book is an honest book that's going to make a big difference in financial wisdom for women. So thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to hear more about what impact you've made with the audience.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson, or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.